Vanakkam, welcome to the world of Pokemon. My name is Banyan. I am one of the Devar region's Pokemon professors, along with my mentor, Professor Fig. I am researching the Spear Ice phenomenon and its origins. Throughout this beautiful region, you will find fantastic creatures called Pokemon. Big, small, adorable, or fierce, every Pokemon exists in a delicate balance with one another. How do you fit into this balance? What sort of Pokemon will you encounter? What path will you choose to take? These questions will be answered in time, but for now, let's find out how you begin your journey through Devar.
Beta? Beta! Wake up! Ah, good, you're up. Get dressed, hurry up. You'll be late to pick up your starter Pokemon from the trainer qualification exam. Go meet Professor Fig at the entrance to Mahandaya. I packed some curry in your bag, so don't worry about breakfast. I'll see you later. Good luck. I'm sure you will make your mum proud.
As you leave the front door of your lovely home, your journey in Pokemon Jade and Jasper begins. Hey everyone, Brandon here, and welcome to my video series on the Devar region, a Fakemon region inspired by India, Nepal, and parts of the surrounding area. I definitely took some creative liberties with the city placement, biomes, and general spacing of things, but that's to be expected from Pokemon games. I mean, just look at the Paldea region. Can you honestly tell me that there's a giant gaping crater in the middle of Spain? No? Yeah, I figured. There is a lot to see and explore in Devar, with new locations, new people, and more importantly, new Pokemon to meet, particularly the starter Pokemon for this video. So let's listen to your dad and go meet up with Professor Fig so we can choose our starter. As you make your way down the first little route of the game, spotting some new and familiar Pokemon along the way, the large, looming visage of Mahandaya is within your sight the entire time. At the end of the path, you see an old man who looks wise, but also a bit stern and somewhat smug.
Hello, I'm Professor Fig. Are you the young one who recently arrived from the Galar region? And you are here to take the trainer qualification exam. Good, good. As you may well know, I created this exam to help keep the balance between Pokemon and people by giving those aspiring to be trainers this test to make for more careful, tactical, and well-informed trainers. You only have one chance to take this test, and failure is not an option. That is, if you want to be a true licensed trainer in Devar. Are you ready to choose your partner and begin this test? Good. Now which of these three will you choose?
Here are the starter Pokemon in the Devar region: Shishrub, Caflair, and Splasp. For these three, I did follow some of the theoretical patterns that were well known amongst the community before Scarlet and Violet came out and smashed them to pieces. To start off, we have Shishrub, where I went with the pattern of the grass starter being based on some form of extinct animal. Shishrub itself is based on the blackbuck, or the Indian antelope, which can be found across both India and Nepal. As for its extinct relative, look no further than the similarly named bluebuck, aka the blue antelope, which roamed the plains of South Africa until around 1800. But back to blackbucks. They really stood out to me, as the males have these long, spiraling horns which reminded me of the long, twisty branches and roots of a banyan tree. So mix the two together and bam! Shishrub. Its name comes from Shishu and Krishnasar, which mean baby and blackbuck in Hindi, and shrub. You know, the little bushes. Moving on to Caflair, this little guy follows the Firestarter Chinese Zodiac theory. And yes, before I get all the comments about this, I am aware this theory isn't a thing in Gen 9, but Caflair was created well before the pattern was abandoned, so put down your pitchforks, alright? I mean, who knows? Maybe Skeledirge is actually a horse. Anyway, obviously Caflair follows the ox part of the Chinese Zodiac. Even without the Zodiac, cows and India are pretty synonymous, so to me this was always going to be a starter no matter what. Caflair is specifically based on cattle like the Zebu or the Gaur. It tries to use its fiery horns to mark trees, kind of like wood-burning crafts, though since it's a base stage, it isn't as proficient at it and will sometimes burn down the entire tree. Whoops! Caflair made an oopsie! Lastly, we have Splasp, whose name comes from splash and asp, a kind of venomous snake found in Europe. Water starters are typically based on some kind of semi-aquatic animal, which in this case is the blue and yellow-lipped sea kraits, whose blue coloration really lends itself well to a water starter. The other pattern that had been established was some form of weapon that was incorporated into the design, which will definitely be more apparent in Splasp's final stage. Oh, and its tail is shaped like a pungi, the instrument snake charmers play, which originates from the Indian subcontinent. However, it's less an instrument of music for Splasp and more of an instrument of destruction. The bubble on its tail can be used to either store water or venom, which can then be blasted out at opponents using the tip of its tail. Before we hop into the evolutions for these three, I wanted to talk about the man giving you your starter, Professor Fig, and his protege who we met in the intro, Professor Banyan. Fig is of course inspired by the globally recognized Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, also known as Mahatma Gandhi. He would serve more as the older professor archetype, like Oak or Magnolia, that you meet when you get your starter, but then not really see pretty much ever again. On the other hand, Professor Banyan would fulfill a similar role to that of Sonia, Kukui, or Sycamore, a professor-esque character that checks in on you through your journey and may challenge you to a few battles here and there. He is inspired by the humanitarian, spiritual leader, and internet sensation Sri Sri Ravi Shankar, aka Gurudev. To those who may be confused about my choice of inspirations, given the nature of the Spear Ice phenomenon, the gimmick of this region, and the themes established throughout Devar, I wanted the professors to be based on famous spiritualists rather than famous academics. Oh, and one thing you may have also noticed, no mom character to start the story this time, just good old Pops, who, like many Desi dads, is sporting a thick mustache, cargo shorts, and touting the age-old saying, money doesn't grow on trees. Alright, enough character talk, let's get back to the starters. Our grass buddy Shishrub evolves into Antelope. It's still a black buck, but the twisty branches and roots of the banyan tree are on full display, becoming the horns and neck wrap for Antelope. With the banyan tree being of great spiritual significance in both Hinduism and Buddhism, this makes for a great psychic type. Its horns and neck wrap can extend into the ground to ensnare foes in a cage of hard roots, which is actually a new grass type move it can learn, Ensnare, which works like Mean Look and keeps the opponent in the battle, but also lowers their speed by 1 stage. Also, yes, the grass baby stood up on 2 legs, but I promise this is the only starter that does that of the 3, so please calm down. Moving on, our fiery friend Caflare evolves into Ignox. Look, see, I did the opposite with this one. Bipedal becomes quadrupedal. Are you satisfied? Aside from the switch and the amount of feet, Ignox expands on the elements of Caflare, with longer fiery horns, which it uses similarly to Caflare, but with more proficiency, and a more fiery appearing tail. The pattern on its back reflects its newly added ground typing, looking like broken up bits of soil. Speaking of, it learns a new ground type move called Scorched Earth, which is a base 70 attacking move with a chance to burn the opponent. Now to evolve our slithery pal Splasp into Wave Viper. As with the other two, Wave Viper expands on Splasp's existing elements, this time literally, with the bubbles on the sides of its head being able to fill with water and expand in an attempt to make itself look more intimidating, just like actual cobras do. Speaking of, this naturally adds in the inspiration of one of, if not the most well-known snakes out there, the King Cobra. Also, Wave Viper's tail now has a second bubble for more storage space and a longer spout for more destruction. This manifests in its new move called Water Cure, which sounds all nice and pleasant, but is actually named after a method of torture in which they would force someone to drink way too much water, giving them water poisoning, which is exactly what this move does. It's a blast of water that has the chance to poison the opponent. Think Scald, but poison instead of burn. Alright, are you guys ready to evolve to the final stages? Well, let's just stick with Wave Viper and evolve it into Vasunami. It gets its name from Tsunami and Vasuki, the king of serpents, who is usually seen hanging around the neck of Shiva, the god of destruction. Like Vasuki, Vasunami is a Naga, which are a race of half-human, half-snakes, that usually take a fully snake form, but can appear as some kind of hybrid of the two. The bubbles of the previous 2 stages have moved up to the hood of Vasunami, and you may have noticed they have these distinctive markings on them that almost look like eyes. Well, the reason for that is Vasuki and his brother, who was also a king of serpents, Shesha, are depicted to have anywhere from 1 to 10 heads. So the bubbles act like these extra heads, and Vasunami uses them as such to trick prey with their seemingly harmless appearance. And if another Pokemon thinks it's harmless enough to eat, it will get a mouthful of extremely toxic venom. As for the weapon that is incorporated into this design, the shape of Vasunami's hood resembles an axe, and with it having poison-filled bubbles along the blades of the axe, it also refers to poison-treated weapons. Moving backwards, let's evolve Ignox into Gaiox. The name comes from Gaia, the primordial Greek goddess and personification of Earth, but also the Hindi word for cow is Gai. Gaia is also known as Mother Earth, and has an equivalent in Hindu mythology, Kamadhenu, known as the Cow Mother. Kamadhenu is more often addressed by her proper name Surabi, which means cow and earth, as well as a few other generally nice things. In some depictions, she is shown to have several Hindu deities within her body and the Himalayas along her ankles, which is reflected in the craggy appearance of Gaiox's hooves. Kamadhenu's milk was also supposedly used to make ghee, a type of clarified butter used for ritualistic fire sacrifices, which plays into Gaiox's fire typing. Kamadhenu is one of the origins of the veneration of cows that India is so well known for. While we're on that topic, another aspect of Gaiox's design reflects one of the ways India venerates their cows, the Gangi Redu. which is when an old ox that is unfit for farm life is decorated and walked door to door by a Gangi Redolu. People will offer money and clothes to the Gangi Redu as a way of trying to receive blessings, since oxes and cows are regarded as holy beings. Last but certainly not least, Antelope evolves into Thawthorn, whose name comes from Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom and the moon, thorn, and horn. I think it's time to finally address the elephant in the room. What's up with the crescent moon symbol on the forehead throughout this entire line? Well, in name, Thawthorn is based on Thoth, who is depicted with the head of an ibis. But in design, it is based on the Hindu god Chandra, or Soma. He is the Hindu god of the moon, night, and vegetation. And his chariot is pulled along the night sky by a black buck. On top of that connection, the Bambara people of Mali credit the discovery of agriculture to a half-human, half-antelope called Chiwara. Apparently, there's lots of grass and antelope correlation going on throughout the world. The branches of antelope have become a full-on banyan tree with Thawthorn, looking like some sort of cape of hanging twisty branches. And the horns are even more twisty to match an adult male blackbuck. The berries along Thawthorn's neck, the white aspects on its face, as well as its more aged, wise appearance, all refer to Sadhu, meaning a holy person who has renounced earthly attachments in dedication to reaching moksha, or enlightenment. Sadhu usually have some form of marking or tilaka on their foreheads, close to their ajna or third eye chakra, or covering their face and body as well. The white face markings of the black buck very much reminded me of the markings of the Sadhu, so I thought it would make a great mix. Starter Pokemon by the final stages usually reveal some kind of group theme, like entertainers with the Paldea starters or RPG classes with the Kalos starters. For this group theme, I'm sure many of you have probably already guessed, but the group theme is gods and goddesses, mainly Hindu ones, though I wanted to mix up the names so there could be a variety of deities from all around the world included. I also noticed a new pattern with the Paldea starters. They all had a group design element, floating things. The flower with Meowscarada, the bird with Skeledirge, and the tail feathers of Quaquaval. So I followed suit, with the Devar starters each having these little gold rings around their arms and other parts of their body. These refer to a kind of jewelry many Hindu gods are depicted wearing, which I believe is called Kayur, but I couldn't find a solid source to back that, so let me know if I'm mistaken. And if I've mispronounced anything throughout this video, please forgive me, I'm trying my best. And those are the starters of the Devar region. Which one would you choose? Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.